It is recording. Hi. Good evening. It is the evening, and it's Friday, so happy Friday, and welcome to the weekend. Try not to touch your face,
Can't promise.
and try not to look too bored.
Definitely can't promise. Try not to ramble too much.
So if Vanessa starts to look bored and starts touching her face, it's nothing to do with me. So we're doing this video. I kind of planned to do this. Cheers. It's just tonic water. It's my.
Mine's straight vodka. Pint of it. I need it for putting up with you.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That's Smirnoff. It's definitely nicer than what's it called? The Absolute.
Absolute.
It's definitely nicer. And I don't know why they charge so much for that Absolute. But because the Smirnoff.
Absolutely disgraceful.
No, it's nice, but it's just.
It's just really what we've gone on
It's
for.
just. Well, I'm only saying. Okay.
Why are we here?
So why we're here, a couple of things. First of all, I did want to do a kind of recap of the holiday that we come back from. So we're back a month, not quite, isn't it?
Really?
2 months ago, is it?
Yeah.
Is it 2 months?
Yeah.
We're back 2 months. Is it 2 months?
Yeah.
Holy moly! Of course.
That's a week short of 2 months.
Wow, because I put up, I don't know, what did I put up? 8 videos. I've been releasing one a week. Wow, okay. So, we're back 2 months. And what I wanted to do is when the last video went up, or I was going to do one sooner actually, was a kind of recap of what we thought of the holiday. This could be a long rambling video. It's not supposed to be long and rambling, because Vanessa has said to me not to have...
Make it long and rambling.
Not to make it long and rambling, but...
I should have got myself a vodka.
Well, I can pause the video when you want to
No,
go.
you're alright, go on.
So first of all, okay, so the last video went up this morning, and thank you to everyone who's watched it so far, and thank you to everybody who's commented so far. That's why I was very busy in work today for a change, and I didn't get a chance to respond. That's why I did it this evening. So it's had 151 views, 24 comments, so obviously that's 12 for me and 12 out. It's had a lot of thumbs up, and we won't mention the one thumbs down for some reason.
How have people, there's 4 people there have thumbs down.
Should I or will I buy the VW California? There's 4 thumbs down.
Fair play. They were on me.
All right. I thought you were complaining. Oh, they're on your side, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so thank you for all the super duper comments. I really do appreciate them. And I responded back to them. I'm trying not to do all the talking, by the way.
Well, you're not doing very good.
And when I'm doing the intro, I'll do the intro.
Alright, well hurry up, come on. Intros are fast.
Okay, so thanks very much, as I said. And what was the thing I was going to say? Okay, so what we're going to do is do a little bit of a... So some of the comments, I think...
I think what he's trying to say is what we're going to do is a little bit of a review on the holiday.
Yeah.
I think that's what he's actually trying to
Yeah,
say. Not
but-
I'm getting distracted, I'm getting distracted, I'm getting
Yeah.
distracted. Now what do you do? A review on the holiday.
Yeah,
Let's go.
no. So the comments, I think a few people were kind of saying, you see, because I remember the last video was me saying, I'm never going away again.
Yeah.
So look, to put that into context, it was very hot. We'd been eaten alive by bugs. And again, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So if the trip wasn't a perfect trip, I'm a bit unhappy with it. It doesn't matter how good it is and the sights were and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter. If it didn't kind of flow well for me, it was wrong, and it's my problem. I'm getting over it. But I just think that so the thing then is, and I also get homesick, don't I? I do love Ireland. I don't like leaving Ireland, really. What?
You don't like leaving the house.
I don't like leaving the house, but I don't. Well, see, that's how we got the camper van, so I don't have to go and stay in a stinky hotel. I can bring my house with me on some level, and the family. So look, the thing about it is, I was a bit off, and I was a bit fed up, and I was glad to be back in Ireland, and I was a bit nervous about the drive, because we did go and we stayed in Missile, and then we had to make a bit of a scramble through Paris. Now we'll tell you the story, the things happened behind the scenes that we didn't capture in the video. Like the Paris tunnel, not that Paris tunnel, a different Paris tunnel, and the toll in Italy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So certain things happened, right? So you see, we didn't capture those things because they kind of happened on the spur of the moment. We weren't really vlogging, and those things were behind the scenes. And then coupled with the heat, being eaten by the bugs, just probably, I was right. Donal saying I need to break it up, and you're right. And the thing is, Donal, it was.
You don't need to break up, Donal. It wasn't that dramatic.
It was. I did break it up. This is the thing. The last time I drove for 16 hours. So this was 2 8-hour trips with a stopover. So I thought that was. But now it's getting to the point where...
On the way back, we definitely should have made it 2 4-hour trips.
Yeah. And what we did was when we came back from Germany at the time, we stayed in a hotel in Paris. And that's what we should have done. But it was, again, being a bit thick, we should have... Instead of, we could have driven on to Paris and stayed in Paris and stayed there for a couple of nights but we weren't. I don't know why it's only now we're thinking of these things, but that's experience, isn't it? You know, give yourself a break. I'm not perfect. No.
Yeah.
Mostly not perfect. So let's cover off a few things. So I'll jump into the behind the scenes things, right? So the first thing was we'll cover these off, and then we'll cover off for the trip. So get yourself a cup of tea. Get yourself a cup of tea, and our tonic. It's not a vodka and tonic. It's just a tonic.
Tonic and lime.
Get yourself a tonic and relax. So when we were driving to Merceau, and that's how you pronounce it, apparently. Merceau. So when we were heading through Paris, and what happened then was, so there's a video why we took the roof box off the van, right? And that was the kind of clincher for me in one way. Well, actually, the trip, the summer solstice was. I'm rambling. What happened was the sat nav, TomTom, the worst sat nav in all of Europe, right? Took us, the world, and I don't care what you say, took us to this tunnel, and I have programmed that thing to tell it how tall the van is, right? But it still took us to this tunnel, and the tunnel was... What happened was we come off the motorway, and there was the dangly things, to stop you, and it was a sign saying... There's a sign saying max height. We could see, we were going, we'll fit under that. But then what happened was we pulled up to it, and then we could see there was a road around it. So we went around it, and then we drove down, and sure enough, we come to a tunnel, and the tunnel was like this high, and we were like, and it was on a bend coming off a motorway, so it was panic stations.
It wasn't really. You panicked.
Well, no, we didn't panic actually. No one panicked. No one panicked. But it was like, oh my God. So what happened was Vanessa, in fairness, hopped out, and in fairness to the French, have your high-vis jacket handy. Great drivers. They are great drivers, aren't they? The French are, in fairness to you, you know how to drive. You really do. You're brilliant drivers. So Vanessa ran off back up the road because it was one way, which we were reversing the wrong way up towards the motorway, and we had to reverse up. So she was flagging them down, and I was trying to then get over to one side, and then I was trying to think they're naturally going to go to the other side, and I'm trying to do this in my head, and the van was all over the place, and eventually we backed up, and then we had to try and merge back out onto the motorway. So it was a disaster. It was an absolute disaster. But we didn't record any of it because you don't really record that kind of stuff because you're trying not to crash and kill people. But that was a huge. So you see that kind of thing is part of it. But for me, I was like, that was a scare, wasn't it? And then that kind of then when we got to Merceau, we were camped in the worst. It's a nice-ish campsite. No, it's not. But
there was nothing
the
nice
spot we were in was just pants, wasn't it?
There was nothing. The view was nice.
Yeah.
That is literally the only thing about that campsite that was nice.
We'd have been as well parked out on the road. That's how bad it was. So you see, these are the things that we didn't really I was probably hinting at, but we didn't go on about. And then the other thing in Italy, and then I'll stop talking, right? And you can talk. The thing that happened in Italy was, it's nuts, right? So I thought the motorways would be just like regular motorways, because the French motorways are very like Irish motorways. They're well signposted, very easy to follow. It's very clear. It's like the UK or Ireland, right? They're similar, but the Italian motorways are just crazy, right? So the signposts are just, it's not so much the language; it's just how they're signposted.
The amount of the signposts as well. Like you come out after your toll, and the tolls are always near the entrance or an exit of a road, So you're trying to figure out where you're going, and there's about, and sometimes the sat nav can have a lag on it, can't it?
Always has a lag.
Yeah, so you can end up kind of staying left when it should really be staying the far left rather than just left. That kind of thing, wasn't it? We were getting...
It was. So basically what tends to happen in Italy, right, for people who've never driven there, is that when you go through it, they don't have the toll bridge like they do in France or Ireland or Britain in the middle of the motorway. They have it at the end where all the junctions are, right? So anyone who's from Ireland would know the Red Cow roundabout, right? It's a bit like the Spaghetti Junction in the UK. Imagine a toll in the middle of that. And you're like, that's what we ran into. We had this issue. So that was stressful because then you come off and you were trying to orientate. There is a lag with the toll or with the sat nav. The roads are very confusing because what we were finding was it was going go left, and it was like there was three. It was
lefts.
Take the left. No, it was, what was it? Take the middle one, and there'd be 2 exits or something like that. So it was just crazy. And then I found at the roundabouts, it was kind of don't take the first exit, but the exits weren't exits as far as we were concerned. It was very confusing. Anyway,
like driveways. One of them was a driveway.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah. So it was bonkers, right? So that was a bit off-putting. But what happened was we went up and we took the wrong turn into a toll, and we drove down one of the automated tolls, and we didn't have the thing. But as we drove up to the barrier lifted. So we thought they're at the scene, and we'll, as you would think, right? We'll ring them, or it'll be something sorted, and because you enter in the toll and then you exit a toll, whereas in Ireland you're just told as you go through, right? And they're all separate tolls. So we did that, and we said grand. And when we get to the thing, because this happened to us in France, and we get to the thing, you hit the buzzer, and then they just go, yeah, grand, and you pay the toll. It's no big deal, right? Whereas what they said was, we said we'd no card, and then they said fine, and then a receipt was printed out, and Vanessa took it out, and it was how much?
65, was it
66 euro. 66 euro was the toll. Now it was an €8 toll, right? Because we'd obviously paid the other way going. So 66 euro. So effectively the penalty was, because they didn't know where we'd come on.
You pay for the length of the toll.
You pay for as if you'd driven the length of Italy through all their tolls. So it was 66 euro. So thankfully for us, we got back to the campsite. One of the guys in the reception was very helpful. He rang. There was a bit of a palaver about it. We had the receipt from the Lamborghini factory that we went to that day, so we were able to prove where we were, what time we were there at, and then we were able to say. So then your man said fine, and then what happened was he paid the fine for me. He through his computer, we paid for the fine, and then it was done and dusted. Although I did get a phone call from Italy on the phone the other day. But anyway, so we did pay the fine.
That was the Lamborghini factory ringing to see we come back to see that one other car that you brought in.
Probably. So there were the behind the scenes things, that you didn't really see, and that was very stressful, and that did take the edge off. That kind of, on some level, it's a simple enough thing, but we were kind of, the thing is, if you don't pay the fine, they'll come after you. And yourself, say in the UK, it can be all of a sudden a 66 euro fine can turn into a bailiff shows up the door and you have to pay his fees, and it's 500 euro, and then it's 1,000 or something like that. And before you know, this whole thing escalates to something like that as well. And we as a couple don't like those kind of things. Especially me, I'm very by the book, aren't I? Mm-hmm. So it's like, I don't like to do these kind of things, and it was just a bit of a disaster. Anyway.
And then the gimbal wouldn't work.
And then the gimbal started to act up as well, which is very stressful for me, and she's away at the moment. Anyway, so the thing about it is, they were the kind of say the low points of the traveling. They were the things like, obviously reversing down a one-way road back onto a motorway is incredibly dangerous.
Hysterically fun,
but with no choice. Well.
Was.
I don't know if I'd call it funny, right? But the thing about it is that, so the roof box, if we hadn't had the roof box, we could have gone through, right? So on and so forth. Anyway, so I've spoken a lot. What do you want to just say something while I take a tea break here and just catch my breath?
What are you drinking like that? Sorry.
I'll have to dub that out. Don't curse. What? Drinking like what? That's how you have to drink it till it starts to empty. Right. What do you want me to do? Just tip it back?
Drink it how you usually drink it. Whoa. Go on.
I'd like a straw.
Mm. paper straws.
Oh, so tasty. Come on.
What am I supposed to be saying?
I don't know. All right, okay.
You're the talker.
I'll talk. Okay, so well then at least people are clear, because people might say, Jay, shut up and give Vanessa a chance to talk, and I'll be like, oh, she won't talk unless prompted. Okay, so let's recap. We put up videos that cover the highlights of each of the trips, really, don't they? Didn't we? So
Gardaland was great.
Gardaland, Venice.
Venice is lovely. I'd like to spend a little bit more time in Venice
on the boat,
done the gondola.
Yeah. Okay. So getting to the boat for us is easy. It was the easiest ever, because it's only half an hour from here to the port, wasn't it? 45 minutes. That's all it is, right? So 35 minutes, 45 minutes. That was grand. The boat, lovely.
Yeah.
No issues with the boat whatsoever. That's that new, whatever it's called.
V8.
Yeah. So it's very good, very spacious and roomy and like that. The
Very
weather was very good. The only issue I had was the deactivating the alarm in the van. I think I had it set to deactivate it permanently, because I didn't realize you could do that. I just assumed it would reset, but it was yellow when I hit the button, and I was going, wait a minute, it should be red. And then when I hit the button, so that kind of wrecked my head a little bit. But other than that, because I didn't want the alarm going off, because you know yourself, then you're thinking,
Your battery will die.
are we going to have trouble with the battery? Yeah. The drive to France. So this is the second time we've driven through France. So the first time was an absolute total head wrecking exercise because of the tolls, but at least this time we'd anticipated the tolls. Now I know people have said we should get the tag, and I think
We're never leaving Ireland again, though. So
we will leave Ireland again, but I'm strongly considering getting the tag the next time. But I think, to be honest, what I'd rather do is get off the motorways and do less distance.
that's what I would much rather do.
And
I'm sick of motorways now at this stage.
And a lot of people said to me, actually, if you drive in the French dual carriageways, they're not tolled, and they're as good as the tolls here, or as good as the motorways here. But I think that's the whole point that we're saying, that the next trip, if we do go away, will be not to a campsite, not trying to get to the campsite. It'll be like the trip itself will be the trip. So if we get off the boat and park up in Cherbourg for the night, then that's part of the trip. If we drive and go to Paris and then check into a hotel, that's part of the trip. It's going to be that kind of thing. It's not that kind of mad dash across Europe that, you know.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So what else? So the boat was fine. I said that. Driving through France was fine. Mont Blanc wasn't too bad. Mont Blanc wasn't too bad going up to it. It wasn't. There was a queue going up to it.
Yeah, but we were a good hour.
Yeah, but look at what was coming on the way back when we were coming back.
Yeah, true.
How long were those people?
They were hours, I'd say. They were there for.
So we and that was a bit of a surprise. So we went through. Apparently, there's a much longer tunnel. We went through one that's 11 kilometers, but people are telling me there's a 38-kilometer tunnel. But I was like, I don't know. I didn't hear that.
Pay to go through that?
I don't know. So we went through the 11-kilometer tunnel, which I'm assuming is the only one. But but the only surprise there was it was what, €45.
46.40 or 40. Yeah, 46.40.
So let's face it, the roof box on the van anyway guzzles fuel, right? So you're kind of going, okay, you kind of factor that in, but then we kind of somewhat level factored in the tolls, but we hadn't factored in a €45 toll. It never occurred to me. I was thinking it's going to be like a tenner or something like that, you know. But if we'd have known it was going to be €45, you'd be like, how much distance would it cut off? But in fairness, it did. Well, actually, because it took us so long queuing to get up to it.
It didn't cut any
to
time
avoid
off.
it, we may have. Yeah. No, I think the sat-nav said it was still quicker, but I wouldn't fully trust TomTom. And then because we did get to Merceau just in time.
2 minutes past 8.
Yeah, because the guy rang us. So that was it. So driving through France, lovely. Again, the French are brilliant drivers. They drive very quickly. They have very good lane discipline, and they all drive quickly. Even in the slow lane, everyone is just booting along and they pull out. It's just fantastic. It's a pleasure to drive over there, apart from the tolls. Then we got to Merceau. It was very disappointing. You know, the spot we were in was very poor. It was the worst spot. A beautiful area. Pity we got there so late. Absolutely beautiful area. I would like to go and stay in France. You know, because it was just so beautiful. The vineyards, box ticked. I've always wanted to see vineyards, and the area was beautiful. And when we went into Merceau, it was beautiful, like little village restaurants and little pubs and everything like that. It was just absolutely beautiful, and you know, in the middle of nowhere. So that was that. We slept fine. We got up the next morning, and then we hit the road. The only issue with the van was we had to strip stuff out to make the bed up for Christian, and then we had to load everything back up the next day. So that's one of the downsides of the van, isn't it? That is because we weren't using the roof box, we were using the bag on the boot, which made it awkward, and then getting in and getting out, and everyone was a bit tired, so that is a little bit awkward. So the lesson we've learned, I think we've learned this lesson before, but I think it's set in stone now. Hence me taking the roof box off, because the roof box is a development. It's like, okay, we're getting serious about this now. So I think the next time what we've established is that we just won't bring as much stuff with us, you know, and we're going to go back to being able to hop in and out of the van and pull up and park and everything like that. You okay? You tired? Vanessa's very tired. She's just getting over a cold. She's very tired, and she passed her exams, so she's a qualified life coach now, aren't you? Isn't that fantastic? And it's my birthday this weekend, so it's a big weekend for everybody. So, well, it's not this weekend, it's Monday, but whatever. Anyway, so it's close enough. So then that was it. So then the drive to Italy was fine. We went through Mont Blanc. That was grand. There was a bit of a queue up to it, but that was okay. And then we got to Italy, and we drove through. You know, that was fine. Then the tolls were the main issue, weren't they?
Yeah.
Just getting on and off them is the main issue. That was the main problem. How long is this video so far? 21 minutes. Grand. Don't worry about it. You can watch it in parts. So I'll let you. So the tolls, that getting on and off, that was awkward. But then we got to the campsite, we checked in. Parking the van was a bit awkward, wasn't it? Because the campsite the site we were in had a tree in it, and then
that bloody tree.
So there was a tree, and we were conscious of where we could pop the roof up, but also then the site itself was slightly on a hill, so we were trying to think. What a lot of people were doing was parking across the front of their site and then pitching.
Don't come in here if you've no top on.
What'd you say?
Get some clothes on.
I have clothes on.
Okay. So that was the issue then was what are you doing?
What's happening?
We're making a video.
About what?
The holiday. Are you gonna hang around there?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so then where was I saying? Oh yeah, so parking the van was a little bit awkward, and that's Christian, and so we're parking the van was a little bit awkward, and but we eventually figured it out. There's a bit of leveling the van is a bit of a flashpoint for me and V, isn't it? It tends to cause arguments.
Trigger point.
Vanessa has a tendency to stand behind the van where I can't see her giving me directions.
Even with the reverse camera.
Well, unless you're this tall, so I can't see her hand signals. So we've walkie-talkies, but we keep forgetting to use them.
Yep, you can't see my hand
and then trying to
signals.
level the van. So the new van, the T6.1, which is one of the selling points of the new van, is it does have this level thing inside, because trying to figure
But you
that
still
out.
have to figure out how to reverse it properly. You still have to get it up on those chocks. They're not part of the van, so it's still going to be an issue.
Yeah, but at least I can look at that thing above my head,
Yeah.
rather than trying to go, how's the phone level thing?
You have a spirit level and stop lying.
That was that. Then, so we set up, we parked, so we were in the campsite. The campsite, we had a quick look around. The only issue was the first night we were there, they had no beers. Isn't that right? We could have been packing up and going home, but we said we'd stay for another night and see how they got on. No draft beer is what I'm saying.
I think they just didn't like you because there was no issue the next morning.
Look, they ran out.
Alright.
Nothing to do
It's
with
very
me.
warm.
Yeah, what?
It was very warm, so people
You
were
can't
thirsty.
talk so quietly. You have to speak up.
It's very warm, so people were thirsty.
That's too loud now. That's too loud. So yeah, so the campsite was lovely. The toilets are very clean. Everything like that, wasn't it? It was lovely. The people were
Spotless.
and it was lovely. And the Dutch are very nice. They're very friendly.
I just one complaint. I didn't like the mosquitoes.
The only trouble is all the Dutch spoke English, so you couldn't moan about them.
You wouldn't anyway. They're very nice.
Everyone spoke English, and so you know there's this thing. I don't know if English people do this, but I think Irish people have a tendency to forget that
We have a little rant.
a lot of continental people speak English, so you might be moaning about something and then Their English is probably better than ours. So that's the thing. I know they're very nice. They helped us out. It lashed rain one night. I'll dub that out.
Oh,
it
yeah.
lashed rain one night, and actually Vanessa had left some clothes out. And then the next day, the lady gave us a clothes horse and stuff like that. And they were very nice, and they spoke perfect English, and they were lovely and friendly, weren't they? So they were very nice
Bought her a
people.
bottle of wine, and she didn't want to accept it.
Yeah, they were lovely and friendly. So the campsite was very good. The only thing was the I'm going to say cicadas. Shut that door there, Christian, will you?
Which one?
That door over there, so we can't hear the heaters
Okay,
turned
I was
on.
about to go in there, but alright.
Yeah, well, just
Turn on the light and go in, but just shut the door.
will you come on? So there was cicadas in the trees that drove you mad, and there was those birds twittering all day long as well. But other than that,
You're awful cranky.
other than that, well, they were like,
But they were fine. No,
Not when
the
you're trying to
problem
sleep.
The problem was, Mr. O'Neill was too warm.
it was very
And
hot.
he didn't like it at all.
It's very
he
hot.
didn't realise going to Italy
No, it was a heat wave.
in July, August would be very warm.
It was warm, but it was warmer than usual because even the Italians themselves were giving out about how hot it was. And what happened was, in my rush to pack, I had packed all the wrong clothes.
It was my fault though, because I wasn't here when he was packing.
No. I brought t-shirts with me, but the thing about
I told you to bring your running gear.
it's too hot. And so the minute I put on a t-shirt, I just was sweating profusely in the t-shirt. If you look at the video in Venice, you can see it's a grey t-shirt, but it's bet onto me because I'm sweating so much with the heat.
You were like an antichrist,
It was
weren't you?
gross. Yeah, because I'd only brought like one top.
But that was your own fault.
I know, I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
So the campsite was very good. No problems with that, apart from Tom trying to bring us down this ridiculously small road
Again,
to
that's
get
Tom
to
Tom.
Yeah,
It's nothing to do with the campsite.
Then what we did was we basically, I probably should look at the videos and see what they were. Have a look at the videos.
We done the tour of the lake, which was lovely.
Do them in order, the videos. Yeah. Okay, so we did the tour around the lake. That was very nice. So we drove all around the lake and back, and that was lovely. And again, I think, did I say it in this video? What video did I say about the I did say it in the video about the I said it in the T61 video about the campsite having a curfew. And
It never occurred to
and
us.
we paid attention to the curfew, which was a bit stupid. And that's why when we went for the spin around the lake that evening, we were getting back. Now it wasn't too bad time wise and stuff like that, but we should have just ignored it. Should have just ignored the curfew and just stayed out.
Ooh.
So that was lovely. I recommend that. The drive around the lake is very nice, and I would recommend you go anti-clockwise because when we were coming back, we could see the tunnels if you're looking down on the lake. If you go clockwise, I think it's more awkward. It's a bit like driving the Ring of Kerry. There's a lot of kind of mad, twisty, bendy roads and like that. But for some reason, coming anti-clockwise seemed easier. That was beautiful, and we got to see lots of beautiful places, and that was very nice. We did stop in Torbole.
Stop messing.
We stopped in Torbole or something like that. And I was nervous flying the drone. That's why there's not a whole lot of drone footage. I was nervous flying the drone because when I took the drone off, when I realised I was right next to the little cop. There was a little hut with cops in it, and I thought they were going to do me. So I was a bit nervous. But also the gimbal was starting to act up, wasn't it? And it wasted a lot of time that we would have spent walking around. So the gimbal was really starting to.
I only got to see one church.
Christian, will you take it easy there, will you?
I only got to see one church.
Yeah.
That was it.
But the thing about, for me, part of the holiday is using taking the videos, and the gimbal was drifting. So what I mean by that was that the gimbal, instead of staying straight, it just starts to it started to rotate the camera on me, or turning the camera this way. So it's all being repaired now, partly. Anyway, so that was that. That was lovely. Then we went to the Dolomites.
To find the lake.
No, I think we went to the Dolomites first. We went to the Dolomites, and the Dolomites was lovely.
They were lovely, actually.
Yeah, the
The
Dolomites
walk was
beautiful.
lovely, if not exhausting.
Yeah, the issue with us going to the Dolomites was that we
went and searched this amazing lake.
yeah, and then I'd gotten it wrong.
Then when we
It was the
came
wrong
home, we
lake.
realised it was the wrong place.
It was the wrong lake.
For.
It was a long drive, and that was the other thing as well. We wasted 25 minutes coming back because again, trying to get onto the motorway, we took the wrong turn and we ended up going in the wrong direction. And again, that's the thing, that it's just the way they're positioned that you really have to have a very strong understanding or local knowledge of the area, because you're kind of, the way the exits are done is they're plonked right on top of the motorway, and it's very bad signage, and you end up on the, and so then it was 25 minutes down and we had to turn and come back up, so it was 50 minutes wasted just because of that one thing, and 50 minutes of driving that thing at 140 kilometers per hour, so time and fuel wasted just because of hard to negotiate
And more
those
tolls.
and tolls as well. Yeah. So the Dolomites are lovely, except it was the wrong lake. I went up in the cable car. It was beautiful. The views are beautiful, unreal. It was the closest thing I'd ever seen to the Grand Canyon, in that it was just unreal. You couldn't take it in. It was so beautiful.
See, I wasn't impressed by the Grand Canyon at all. Takes a lot.
Thanks a lot to impress you.
Yeah.
You're welcome. So, the Dolomites were very nice, and the little. And now it's strange because you're up near Austria and Switzerland, so it's not like Italy. It's like it's all chalets,
Leidenhausen.
and it's different languages and stuff like that as well, and very kind of Germanic in its way, and really beautiful, and I think actually if I went back, I'd stay definitely up the north end of the lake, definitely stay up there, and the north end was absolutely beautiful. But we stayed down the south end because it's near to Venice, and it was nearer to the Lamborghini factory, and it was nearer to all the sites, GARDA land. That's Christian using the loo. Christian, I'm gonna kill you. So, Christian, we're making a video. Are you okay going to the loo, are you?
Could you hear us in there?
Because we could hear you out here. So what else did we do? We went to
Turn off the light.
we went to GARDA land, didn't we? We went to GARDA land.
It's
GARDA
the
land.
Lamborghini factory.
GARDA land was very good. Now
It's worth a miss.
what?
The Lamborghini
Well, no.
factory.
Let's do GARDA land. GARDA land was very good. Now there's a park in Ireland called Tato Park. It's near the house. It's in Ashbourne in Dublin. And the guys were telling me Tato
Ashbourne
Park,
is in Meath, by the way.
or whatever. You were telling me Tato Park was equivalent to GARDA land.
It is.
It is not.
There's more.
It is not.
Well,
So Dad, you only seen about a quarter of
we literally said in one section where
Yeah.
we were. It is.
Come on. Tato Park
I
doesn't
think
have
Tato
a
Park
patch.
is better.
Okay. Well, then we'll put it down to preference. Stop it. We'll put it down
Because
to...
Gardaland is all roller coasters. That's all it is.
You don't like roller coasters.
No, but I'm just saying, yeah, but
You
if
should
I
have gone
did,
air race.
if I did like roller coasters, Gardaland would definitely be a better. Anyway.
Oh,
I
yeah,
just thought it was better.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's just...
It's bigger,
yeah.
but Tato Park is great.
But getting to Gardaland was grand and handy.
Don't talk to me about that.
Getting to Gardaland was grand and handy. Parking was grand and handy. Getting into Gardaland was grand and handy.
And then it rained.
Then it lashed round. I was delighted because I was sick of the weather.
We were like
at
a
that
tree
stage.
Kermit the Frog's gone around in ponchos.
And then we went back, and that was fine. And then I don't know if we're doing these in the order that we did them. We went
Then
to
we
the
had to try and level the van.
and then we went. What do you mean?
We went back. Every time we leave, we have to try and level the van when we go back.
Yeah.
If only there was some device that level it itself, huh?
What do you mean? Why do you? I can't whisper.
Go on, keep going.
Okay. So then, I don't know if these are in the order that we did
Doesn't
them.
matter, go on.
Then we went to so Gardaland was very good, I have
Yeah.
to say. It was very good. It was well worth seeing. And the drive from where we went, so we went round the bottom end of the lake over to Gardaland, and I have to say there's some beautiful little towns.
Maloney, was that?
I can't remember the name of it.
Limone.
Yeah.
Lemony.
Lemony or lemon.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Yeah,
I'd
absolutely.
go back there.
And so that's the thing where we'd go and stay in a hotel because it was absolutely so
gorgeous.
beautiful, you know, and you'd be wandering around and just watching everyone relaxing
Yeah.
that evening, all that kind of going. That's the downside of campsites, you know. I think this thing is sitting outside a nice hotel and everything like that, and having drinks and something to eat, and you know, like camping is camping, right? But staying in a hotel and that they're totally different things, and I think I was eyeballing the people staying in the hotels and looking at them and kind of going,
They look clean.
culturally, I think I'm probably more inclined to think that I'm a hotel kind of person. Aircon and swimming pools and all. Anyway,
Well, we had a swimming pool.
we did. And if it wasn't so hot, the campsite would have been perfect. It was just too hot. Okay, so the
Poor
Lamborghini.
old Christian
we
got
went-
scalded. So did you, didn't you?
Yes, we went to the Lamborghini museum, which was rubbish.
Terrible.
That was pants. And that was the day we had the problem with the Italian tolls. That was the problem, right? So we had that issue that day. So that was a bit of a disaster day. We were off the motorways and we drove, and then that was beautiful. Driving through sort of rustic Italy was absolutely beautiful. There's some lovely areas. And I wanted to get out and fly the drone and send it up and yada, yada, yada. But it was just too hot. And the drone doesn't fly well in that heat either. We had a heat wave here last year in Ireland. Remember, it started to act up in the heat. The heat starts to fry the CPU or whatever like that, and it was starting to, it can get a bit glitchy, and I just didn't want it flying off. Okay, so that was that. So the Lamborghini Museum, but driving around that day was beautiful. We went to a little restaurant on the way back, and it was nice.
Lovely, yeah.
And but the only thing I'd say was the restaurant and the campsite wasn't great.
No.
Wasn't great. You know, it was the worst Italian food I've ever had, wasn't it? It was pants. Okay.
Pizza was decent.
The pizza was lovely, yeah, but everything else, the pasta and all was just, the service wasn't great. Okay.
No, the service was diabolical, to be fair.
So then what we did is we organised an excursion trip to Venice. So we were picked up. So that was well organised. The campsite organised it for us, and then in the morning we got up. So it was like 8 o'clock in the morning. We were picked up by a car, which is effectively like a taxi, and it dropped us to a bus stop, and the bus picked us up, and then the bus went. We were some of the first people on it, and it, you know, the usual thing. It drove around and around and around, and it picked up loads of people and headed to Venice. Which is, you know, I was going to drive to Venice, but I was kind of on some level glad I didn't. But the problem was, so much time was wasted. But it was long enough, though, wasn't it? The trip. It was long enough in Venice. So then we were brought to Venice, and then the lady spoke to us about, you know, bits and pieces, and then we went off and did our own thing. We went and had a beer, and we should have videoed that. We had a pizza and a beer down some little side street, and I forgot to video it. Because there's a level of kind of taking these things in as well. Like you're not, like, you know, I'd forget to video sometimes as well, because you kind of, you know, you're just in the moment, which is good. So then what else happened then? The
Road trip.
Venice was lovely. I had that beer. We had the beer. Now we were in a mad tourist spot, so I had that beer, and it was €16. So it was quite expensive, but it was worth it because I thought I was dehydrated.
Come on.
That was that then. So that was Venice. So that was very good. So then that was the last thing we did, wasn't it?
Yeah, because then we
Christian.
Then we chilled the next day and packed up.
We packed up the day before, and we had everything ready so that we hit the road. And then we did the trip back.
Yeah.
And I was nervous. Excuse me, I was nervous because at that stage then I had TomTom and Google Maps running at the same time, because basically both of them have their strengths, and Google is good in one way and TomTom is better in another way. So by having the two of them running at the same time, I was able to figure things out. And then, because I didn't fully trust TomTom and I didn't want to bring this back, I was nervous about hitting that tunnel again. But then trying to use Google, because what I could have is I could have TomTom running in the background and then zoom in on the map in Google, and that helped me with the junctions and all that kind of stuff, because you're constantly trying to plan ahead and not miss your turn. But the trip back was fine.
Perfect.
And there was no issues. We made great time. Again, it was a 7 or 8 hour drive. We got back to Merceau much earlier that day.
Lunchtime, wasn't it? We
Yeah.
got back that time.
Then we got a better spot. Okay, we nearly forgot that. We got a better spot.
So we thought.
And then we had a look around Merceau, and it was again just beautiful. We spent a lot of time in the vineyards, and then we went back to the campsite. Now we had a 5 o'clock start the next morning, so we were getting up at 5 o'clock, and what happened? Kristen,
There will be a war in this kitchen. You
Get
gotta
out of
keep
here.
it up.
huh?
When I pick up the army man, there's going to be a tiny bit of noise. I try to pick up as many as once.
Okay. So then we stayed in the. So we went back and we went to bed.
there's also going to be a tiny bit of noise when he puts them back down.
We went back and we went to bed, and then what happened was there was a family parked next to us in a camper van, and they had a tent, and then their kids talked till what time?
So the parents slept in the camper van, and the 4 children slept in the tent. Well, the 4 children were in the tent. So they started talking at 11 o'clock, and the mother was in and out and in and out and in and out and in and out. And then at 1 o'clock in the morning, they were still talking at the top of their voices, not even whispering. And in the end, Jay got up to go to the toilet, and I was so exasperated by them. I just went, shh, and that was it. There wasn't another word.
The thing I learned early with camping in the van, top tip coming up, earplugs. Get earplugs, because they're not soundproof, especially if you're sleeping on top. So if you're sleeping somewhere near the sea, you're going to have the waves and seagulls.
And that doesn't bother me.
And then when we first went away in the campsite, we slept, and in the trees above us, it was like a rookery full of crows. And in the morning, from 6 in the morning, it was like, wah, wah, wah. So earplugs are a godsend. But you know yourself, I think the thing is, on some level, when you wake up, even if you can't really hear them, if you pull out an earplug and you can, they're talking and all like that, it's a campsite, and you need to take it easy. Like, if you're going to talk and through
you need
the night,
to parent your children.
Yeah, now they didn't know we were getting up at 5 o'clock the next morning, so we got up at 5 o'clock the next morning. Vanessa wanted to beep the horn and back over the tent.
I've never had such a compulsion to shake a tent in my life.
But luckily for me, and the fact that we didn't want to get charged of homicide, I resisted. I resisted the urge. So then we headed. That's what we did. We headed to Paris. We caught a lot of traffic going through Paris and stuff like that. But it was fine. It was all moving, no problem. Once I got through Paris onto the other side, we were fine. The great thing about the sat navs with Google and even TomTom is that if you do run into issues, they will give you alternatives. Because obviously we were trying to catch the boat, and then we were tired, but we were in good spirits. We were trying to we left all the good coffee behind us in Italy, and the coffee in the we got a coffee in a garage that was,
it's like dirty water, wasn't it?
It was basically brown water from a camper van, heated up and served to you. It was just absolute slop. So that was the disappointing thing. But the drive itself was fine. We made our way all the way across from Merceau, which to Cherbourg, so it's a 7-hour drive. And we got there a little bit early because we had left, and we didn't run into any of the issues that I had foreseen. But it was fine. There's no problems. And then we got the boat, and the boat home was dead calm. We were probably.
You weren't well.
Oh, I was starting to come down with a bad flu at that stage. I was getting a really bad cold. And that was part of the thing as well. So I was homesick, I'd been eaten alive, I'd been sunburnt, I was cooked in the sun, and I was coming down with this kind of flu thing as well. So I was very moany at the end, and I was kind of like, I'm never doing this again. And so I get a bit like that, man flu. It brings it out of me. So anyway, then we got the boat home. The boat was uneventful. It was grand. Boat's very comfortable, lovely sleeping.
Get someone
over
in
and
to
back.
fix the TV.
Couldn't get the TV to work in the room, but other than that, it was uneventful. And I was supposed to have a huge gin and tonic or something, wasn't it? But I was sick of it. I was drinking Moretti beers in Italy all the time, and it was beautiful. And we must pick some up here. I've seen it here, Moretti. It's a guy with a hat. Beautiful beer, absolutely delicious. I love to drink it. So the point I was making was, I said we weren't ever going to go away. That's clearly not true, because I do want to go away again to the continent and stuff like that, and head and try again a different kind of trip, because I think third time's a charm. So we will go away again, but I do think it will be this kind of like, we won't be booking a place, it'll be stopping in overnight places, it'll be going to hotels, it'll be more about the scenery, because again, when we went up to see the Dolomites, I would rather just stay up there than driving all the way back, burning fuel. Because if you think about it, all the back and forth driving we did was burning huge amounts of fuel.
All
Whereas
that motorway
if we did one big loop and then we stayed off the motorways and avoided tolls, it'd be so much
all
better.
those beautiful places that we could have been driving through in Italy, and that we
And just stopping. So that was our second big. So the first big trip we had was when we drove to the UK. So we went from Wales down to Cornwall, up to Scotland, back to Northern Ireland,
then
and
that'll
home.
make this our tour.
So that was our real first kind of figuring out the van and everything like that. So that was a little bit stressful. Then we went to Germany, and we were getting better. We've done lots of trips here in Ireland. Lots of trips here in Ireland, and then we did that last trip. But I think that's cemented in us that how we would go about our trips in future. And I think the trips in future would be that, just kind of like freewheeling, taking it easy, you know, so on and so forth.
These good people go about their evening.
So that's it. That's the recap of the trip for 2019. And if you've gotten to this far, fair ball to you. And will we put a shout out anyway? Put a shout out to Aaron and his channel Charlie and Me. So just a shout out if anyone's watching it this far, just a test to see if Aaron watched it this far. Fair ball to you, Aaron. Loving the channel, and we're I see all the places you're going to. It's given me a list of places that we want to visit in Ireland. So if you're coming to Ireland, I recommend that you watch Charlie and Me. And
if you're looking for somewhere to stay.
Yeah, because like he's going to go to every campsite. It looks like it's and he does very good reviews. Him and the dog, and we still have to wait to see the wife. Right, say goodbye.
Goodbye.